Randy Robinson at Life. Today I have back with me again one of my favorite guests on the show, Andy Andrews, who has a new book called How Do You Kill 11 Million People? And Andy, thanks for coming back. That's not a children's book,
Yeah, no, it's not a little touchy-feely title, is it?
You go from the butterfly effect to how do you kill
11 million people?
Yeah, what's going on?
Well, it's a very curious book. I wanted to gather agreement with people. And two questions have been roaming in my life for years and years and years. I really had no idea that both of them were headed to the same point. But the first question I had for years was, can I write something that takes only 15 minutes to read the entire thing, doesn't say Republican, doesn't say Democrat, or liberal or conservative, and yet everybody who reads it would agree with it? I wasn't sure that had an answer. Now, at the same time, I'm very curious about history, and I read odd history, and sometimes I'll read, like I read the Nuremberg trial transcripts, and I'd take a little thread and run down a rabbit trail. But something always bothered me about the Holocaust. And
it should.
Well, I mean beyond the obvious.
Okay.
Here's what I never could figure out. I would, watch documentaries or read books about relatively few Nazi guards loading thousands upon thousands of families onto rail cars going to death camps. And I always thought, how do you get them to do that? Yeah. I mean, why not, you look at them and think, why don't they rush them? Why don't they fight?
Right.
Why don't they run?
Right.
And when I found the answer, I thought, oh my gosh, because the question was, how do you kill 11 million people? You lie to them. And that was what it was. It was a policy of lies that brought Hitler into office in the first place. Sure. But it was a specific written down policy of lies that allowed the Jewish people first, and then later other people, to be convinced as they got on the rail cars that they were fine. They thought they were going to factory jobs. Yeah. They thought their kids were going to school. In fact, they were told, fathers, keep your families together. We're going to be crowded, but it'll be a very short trip. And they literally loaded their own families on the rail cars. And so that's how you kill 11 million people. But the curious thing is that really came to intersect my other question. Is there a way I can write something that doesn't say Republican or Democrat that everybody would agree with? And here's what everybody agrees with. You walk outside today, and I don't care who you talk to, I don't care how old they are, what gender, what color, what income bracket, and if you say, do you think it's okay for politicians to lie, or should they tell us the truth? Everybody you talk to will say, oh, they should tell us the truth. Well, that is the essence of influence, agreement. And so when we can begin to agree on one thing, then we can move toward a search for the truth in others.
How many of those same people do you think would tell you that all politicians lie?
I think that everybody will tell you that, even if they're lying about it. I mean, I think that overwhelmingly people believe that politicians lie. I think even the politicians know they lie. I think they're caught up in such a web that even the good guys, whoever they are, have decided that if I don't tell these people what they want to hear, I'm not going to stay in office.
Yeah. So what are you doing with this whole message? Okay, you have this revelation, and you wrote a book.
And honestly, Randy, I created this cheap little book as a way that people could, afford to get 2 or 3 of them. And I tell people, look, go read it in the bookstore. Go read it and stand there in the bookstore. Take you 15 minutes to read the whole thing. Save you a trip, because you want to get several of them to give to your Uncle Charles and your Aunt Martha and your crazy cousin you don't dare talk about politics with. And because the idea, I really believe that if we're convinced that the truth is on our side, then we don't have to convince somebody about what to believe. We just have to convince them to search for the truth, and they will come to our side, okay? I really believe that Republicans, Democrats, I believe our political process has been going about it wrong for years, because, you and I guess I'm probably a little older than you, but we've been watching these guys yell at each other for years, and I don't know if anybody's changed anybody's mind. And yet, one of the curious things about this book, see, because we parallel what happened in Germany years ago. See, people forget, they think that Hitler took over. He didn't take over. He was elected. Yeah. He was elected. When he was elected, Germany was a democratic society. And they had free access to media, and so he used the economic times that were happening. I mean, he got his Congress to grant him emergency powers, and then he created a law for the protection of the people. Well, there's
not for all of them.
Yeah, there's a big problem. And so, but the thing that happened that I want people to know that is very curious is when you look at that society at that point, there were 79.7 million people in Germany, 80 million people in Germany. And at no time, even at the height of their powers, did the Nazi Party have more than 8.5 million members. Literally 10% of that society took that country into that nightmare. And so when you look now, you look at our country, and people aren't aware of this, but did you know there are 545 people in America today who are literally, morally, and legally responsible for every problem America faces?
Congress.
Yeah, well, these 545 people propose every budget, they sign every law. One president, 9 Supreme Court justices, 100 senators, and 435 members of Congress. And if you look at our last census, there are 311 million people in America now. So to be clear, that's 311 million of us and 545 of them. You'd think we could do something about it. And yet, in the past 25 years, there's not been a single presidential election that has been won by more than 10 million votes. They've all been that close. And yet, in the past 25 years, there's not been a single presidential election in which fewer than 100 million people of voting age did not vote. 65 million of those identified themselves as Christians. Now, some people might say, ooh, that's scary, that's bad news. No, not really. It's crazy news, it's stupid news, but it's not bad news. It's kind of hopeful news. Because those 100 million, those are just undecideds. And we don't have to get all 100 million of them to understand the truth. We just need more than 10 million. And so I really believe that if 10% of that society of Germany can take that country into the darkness, surely 10% of us can move our country into what our founding fathers intended.
Now, you aren't comparing President Obama to Hitler, are you?
I didn't say that.
I know you didn't.
I didn't, certainly didn't say that.
You got a book about...
but I see, here's the thing.
Just want to be clear, in case someone's drawing that conclusion.
Yeah, I mean, you make your own conclusions there, but I never, not one time in the book, did I say anybody's name, did I make a sly reference like that. I mean, in fact, and I didn't say Republican or Democrat or liberal or conservative or right or left, any of those words. So this is something, in fact, see, I am intent upon getting people to get their friends to search for the truth. So amazingly, I have friends who have voted opposite of me for years and years, and they're handing out these books, boy. They're getting 5 and 10 of them and handing them to their friends, and they're saying, come on, these guys are lying to us. So I really believe I want people to use this as a weapon to make people mad enough or scared enough or something to get out of their houses and crank their car and go to the firehouse or the schoolhouse and actually vote.
Yeah, so you're not out to support or attack a candidate or a party. You're basically upholding a principle that's true for everyone.
Exactly. Look, I'm not an us or them kind of person. I'm a we person. I don't think God is us or them. So I think God is for truth. I think that's the whole thing.
Let me ask you a question. There's something in your book that I found interesting, and this is the idea of intentions.
Right.
A lot of people will say, well, I don't necessarily agree, or I admit that, whatever policy or politician or whatever is not done what I wanted it to, but they had good intentions.
They had good intentions.
Is it really right to judge others by their intentions? I mean, surely you got to take it into some consideration.
No. And I'm going to tell you why. I saw a speaker one time speaking, and his topic was the power of intention. And immediately, I knew it wasn't anything I wanted to hear. And here's why. There is no power in intention. I mean, do you understand what intention is, right? I mean, how stupid would you think I was if I came to you and I said, Randy, I cannot believe how my wife is treating me after I intended to bring her flowers yesterday. I mean, I can't believe how she acts after all I have intended to do for her. You would think, well, you moron, you didn't do anything. You just intended to. You know, we tend to judge other people on their actions and judge ourselves by our intentions. But there is no power in intention. There is only power in what you do. You know, I mean, as Christians, we understand how devastating it can be to somebody's eternity if they intended to accept Christ as their personal Savior.
Yeah, interesting. All right, so where can people check out your book?
You know, they can get the book at any bookstore. Yeah. It's out now, any bookstore, on Amazon. You know, on my website, I'm on Facebook, by the way. So if anybody, you know, wants to go on Facebook, find Andy Andrews and click like, I will be your friend. Okay, but the book is in any bookstore. How do you kill 11 million people? Ask them, and you just kind of see the look on their face as you ask. It's kind of funny.
Yeah, for the book, of course, not how to actually do it.
Right.
Okay. Do you tweet?
I do. I'm on Twitter. It's @AndyAndrews.
Awesome. Check it out. How do you kill 11 million people? Or better yet, how do you get people to agree who don't always agree? Andy, thank you for being with us.
Thank you, buddy.
As always, it's been a pleasure.
I appreciate it and really appreciate what you do.
Be sure to check him out when he's on Life Today. You can watch that show at lifetoday.org.